Imagine waking up one day and realizing you've been living only a fraction of the life you're capable of. Not because you lacked the talent, not because you didn't have the opportunity, but because you never gave yourself the time to grow into the person you were meant to be. The greatest tragedy isn't failure. It's being successful at the wrong thing. It's climbing a ladder only to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. It's living someone else's dream because you never gave yourself the chance to discover your own. We live in a world that praises productivity, but forgets purpose. We're surrounded by noise, expectations, comparisons, deadlines. But rarely do we stop to ask ourselves the most important question: am I becoming who I'm meant to be? You were not born to be average. Deep down you felt it. That quiet, persistent pull inside you that says there's more to do, more to become, more to experience than what you're living right now. That feeling isn't a fantasy. It's a signal, a reminder that you were built for something greater, something beyond mere survival or fitting into someone else's definition of success. Think about it. From the moment you were born, there was nothing ordinary about you. Your fingerprint is one of a kind. Your voice, your story, your perspective. There's no duplicate. And yet, somewhere along the way, life taught you to mute your uniqueness. Maybe it was rejection. Maybe it was failure. Maybe it was just years of being told to play it safe and follow the rules. So you started believing that fitting in was safer than standing out, that being accepted was more important than being authentic. But let me ask you this. Has hiding ever fulfilled you? Has dimming your light ever led to joy? Or has it just left you feeling unseen, underestimated, and stuck? You weren't born to coast through life, reacting to whatever the world throws at you. You were born to lead, to shape your environment, to challenge the status quo, to set your own path. And the moment you stop shrinking yourself to thin is the moment you begin to realize your true power. Greatness doesn't come from comfort zones. It comes from daring to believe you were meant for more. Even when the evidence hasn't shown up yet. It comes from waking up each day with a sense of purpose. If you decide, even if the world doesn't clap for you right away. It comes from making the decision over and over again that average just won't do. You have talents you've never tapped into. If you decide, you have dreams you've quietly buried because someone once told you they were too big, bold, or too unrealistic. But here's the truth. The people who make the biggest impact in this world are not the ones who played it safe. They're the ones who believed in their difference, embraced it, and used it to lead, create, and inspire. Don't let fear convince you that you're not enough. Don't let comfort convince you that you've gone far enough. Your potential is not limited by your past, your background, or anyone else's opinion. It's only limited by how small you're willing to stay. There is something inside of you that's been waiting to be unleashed. A voice that's been waiting to be heard. A dream that's been waiting to be lived. And no matter how quiet it's become, it's still there, ready for you to wake it up. Average is a choice. So is greatness. You already know which one your soul is asking for. No one is coming to build you. That's the hard truth most people avoid because it's easier to believe that one day someone or something will change our lives for us. Maybe it'll be the right mentor, the perfect opportunity, the right timing, or some life-altering event that makes everything fall into place. But the reality is this: if you're waiting for someone else to unlock your potential, you'll be waiting forever. Your growth is your responsibility, not your boss. Not your parents, not your partners, yours. And the longer you delay owning that truth, the longer you delay your progress. We live in a culture that constantly points outward, blaming systems, situations, and people for why we haven't moved forward. But here's the uncomfortable fact: as long as you're waiting on something external to change, if you decide, you've given away your power. Every day you're either growing or decaying. There is no standing still. If you don't deliberately choose growth, life will choose stagnation for you. It's not enough to hope for better circumstances. You have to create them. That starts by taking radical ownership of your time, your habits, your mindset, and your energy. It starts by becoming obsessed with your own development, not in a selfish way, but in an necessary way. Think about it like this. If you were a business, would you invest in you? Are you putting in the time, effort, and resources it takes to become valuable, resilient, and future-proof? If you decide, most people treat their personal growth like an afterthought. They say things like, I'll work on myself when things slow down. Or I'll start reading more when I have time. But that time never comes. Because life doesn't hand out free hours to grow. You have to make them. The best version of you isn't going to magically appear one day. It's built in the quiet, repetitive, often unseen efforts you make every single day. It's built when you choose to read instead of scroll. When you journal instead of complain. When you face your fears instead of hiding from them. Growth is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset that says, I am worth the effort. And the truth is, nobody can do the internal work for you. They can encourage you, guide you, or even challenge you, but they cannot replace you in the process. They can't rewrite the stories in your head. They can't install the discipline you need. They can't feel the pain that leads to transformation. Only you can. You don't have to know all the steps. You just have to take the next one. Start small, stay consistent, and let the momentum build. Growth isn't always visible in the beginning, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. The roots grow first, quietly, before anything breaks the surface. But none of it happens if you keep waiting for someone else to water the soil. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your invitation. It's the knock on the door that signals growth is standing outside, waiting to be let in. Most people run from discomfort. They avoid it, numb it, escape it. But here's the truth, everything you want. Every very next level, every transformation, is on the other side of it. The life you dream about doesn't live in your comfort zone. It lives in the unknown, the unfamiliar, the uncomfortable. We're taught to seek ease, to build routines that feel safe, to make choices that avoid failure. But comfort is a slow killer. It lulls you into a routine of mediocrity. It keeps your world small. And before you realize it, you're living the same year on repeat, calling it a life. The problem isn't that discomfort exists. It's that we've been trained to fear it. But discomfort isn't danger. It's growth in disguise. Think about any meaningful achievement in your life. Anything you're proud of. Was it born from ease? Or was it born from challenge, from fear, from the stretching of your limits? Growth never feels like growth while it's happening. It feels like uncertainty. It feels like self-doubt. It feels like frustration, resistance, and fear. But that's the signal that something new is being built inside you. The gym isn't where your body grows. It's where it breaks down just enough to rebuild stronger. The same is true for your mindset, your discipline, your courage. You decide. Every time you step into discomfort, you're training your resilience. You're expanding your capacity. You're proving to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. That's how confidence is earned, not by avoiding hard things, but by you doing them. Discomfort is where identity shifts happen. If you decide, it's where you go from saying, I can't, to maybe I can, and eventually to, I will. But you have to be willing to sit in the tension. You have to stop backing down when it gets hard. You have to stop interpreting resistance as a sign you should quit. Often, it's the opposite. Resistance is confirmation you're in the right place. Because growth always fights back before it lets you through. Every excuse, every fear, every what if that holds you back is rooted in a desire to avoid discomfort. But what if you flipped the script? What if you stopped avoiding it and started chasing it? What if your next breakthrough isn't about being more talented, but about being more willing? Willing to be stretched, to fail, to look foolish, to get uncomfortable long enough to grow. You can't strengthen what you never challenge. And you can't grow into your potential while clinging to your limitations. Discomfort is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. Not once, not occasionally, but every single time. So, if you feel it, if you're in it, good. That means you're in the right place. That means something is shifting. That means you're closer than you think. Someone is watching you right now. Not in a creepy way, but in a life-changing one. They're watching how you live, how you move through fear, how you respond to challenges. How you show up even when it's hard. Whether you realize it or not, your life is setting an example. You're teaching people what's possible, not by what you say, but by who you are. You can either be the excuse others use to stay stuck, or the proof they use to rise. You get to choose. Too many people believe they have to be extraordinary to inspire others. They think they need a perfect past, a powerful platform, or a massive audience. But what people need isn't perfection. They need a realness. They need to see someone who started scared but moved anyway. Someone who failed and kept going. Side, someone who didn't wait to be qualified before they chose to be committed. You don't need to be the exception. You need to be the example. There's power in your process, in your quiet persistence, in your quiet consistency. You may not think your story matters, but someone out there needs to see what resilience looks like in motion. They need to see someone who doesn't have it all figured out, but still shows up, still tries, still believes. Your courage gives other people courage. Your discipline gives other people permission. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops. Just live it with intention. Think about the people who have impacted you the most. Were they always the most successful, the loudest, the most polished? Or were they the ones who modeled authenticity? The ones who didn't just talk about the hard path. They walked it. That's what changes people. Not motivational slogans, but lives that reflect values. You can't lead where you won't go. And you can't inspire what you won't live. Being the example isn't about pretending to be perfect. It's about staying aligned. It's about doing the hard things behind closed doors. It's about choosing integrity when no one is watching. That's where influence is built. Not in moments of applause, but in moments of discipline and quiet decision. People are not looking for superheroes. They're looking for proof that someone like them can make it through. You decide that someone with flaws, doubts, and obstacles can still rise, and that's you. You are the possibility someone else hasn't yet believed in. You are the story someone else hasn't dared to write for themselves. Every time you choose growth, healing, honesty, and excellence, you give others the roadmap to do the same. You don't have to tell them how. Your life shows them how. That's the difference between being impressive and being impactful. Impressive fades. Impact lasts. You decide. You don't become the example by having it easy. You become the example by doing the work and refusing to quit. Let your life speak louder than your words ever could. Let your consistency become contagious. Let your growth become the mirror in which others see their own potential reflected back at them. Every day, people wake up, dive straight into their calendars, respond to emails, attend meetings, hit deadlines, check boxes, and call it a successful day. But here's the brutal truth. Productivity without purpose is just movement without meaning. You can be incredibly busy and still be going nowhere. You can work hard every single day and still wake up years from now wondering why you feel empty. Why? If you decide, because you never stop to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing. We've been conditioned to equate productivity with progress, but they're not the same. Activity doesn't guarantee fulfillment. Being efficient doesn't guarantee you're working on the right things. Purpose is what gives your effort direction. Without it, you're just spinning in circles, chasing goals that might even be yours. Think about how many people are sprinting through life, climbing ladders, achieving titles, making money, only to realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. They were busy, yes, productive, sure, but aligned, fulfilled, whole, not even close. That's the danger of living without purpose. It disguises itself as success until it's too late. When you lead with purpose, everything changes. You stop chasing things for the approval of others and start doing things that feed your soul. Your why becomes your anchor. It keeps you grounded when life gets loud. You decide, and it keeps you focused when distractions try to pull you off course. You stop measuring your life by how much you get done and start measuring it by how deeply you're living. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I pursuing this career, this degree, this relationship, this lifestyle? Is it because it truly aligns with who I am, or because it looks good on paper? When you lose your why, you lose your way. That's when burnout creeps in. That's when anxiety takes over. You decide. That's when you start doubting yourself. Not because you're incapable, but because you've lost connection to what matters most. Purpose is not some magical revelation that appears overnight. It's discovered through intention, reflection, and honesty. It's born in the quiet moments when you're brave enough to ask yourself hard questions. It's uncovered when you stop performing for the world and start listening to your own inner voice. And here's the truth. When you lead with purpose, productivity becomes a tool, not a trap. You work not just harder, but smarter. You say no to the distractions that once owned your time. You pour your energy into things that matter, things that move you forward, things that make you feel alive. Suddenly, progress feels different. It's not frantic. It's not forced. It's focused, meaningful, intentional. If you decide, this is how fulfillment is built. Not by doing more, but by doing what matters. Not by adding to your to-do list, but by subtracting everything that doesn't serve who you truly are. You don't need more time. You need more clarity. Clarity about your values. Your vision. Your why. Because when you find that everything else begins to align, you don't wake up one morning suddenly at your best. You don't stumble into greatness by chance. The truth is, it's the small decisions. Those quiet, uncelebrated choices you make every day. That shape the trajectory of your life. It's not one massive moment that defines you. You decide it's the accumulation of all the little ones. Every time you choose growth over comfort, discipline over distraction, progress over procrastination, you cast a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Most people underestimate the power of small decisions. They think big change requires big actions. They wait for the perfect time to make a bold move, to start fresh, to transform their lives overnight. But the real transformation happens in the daily grind. In the small, often invisible acts of consistency that feel like they aren't making a difference. But they are. They always are. Think about it, Doug. Every time you wake up early instead of hitting snooze, you're building momentum. Every time you read a few pages instead of scrolling mindlessly, you're feeding your mind. Every time you get uncomfortable and do the thing you've been avoiding, you're strengthening your character. These aren't just habits. They're votes. They're decisions that say, This is who I am becoming. And the opposite is also true. When you repeatedly make small decisions to avoid delay or escape, you're also shaping your future, but in the wrong direction. You don't just end up stuck or uninspired. You drift there slowly, one compromise at a time. One missed opportunity, one ignored instinct. One, I'll do it tomorrow, that turns into months of waiting. Before you know it, if you're further from your goals than you ever meant to be, the key is awareness. You have to pay attention to the patterns you're creating through your choices, because they are patterns, whether you recognize them or not. You decide the person who becomes confident is not the one who suddenly gets a boost of courage. It's the one who consistently chooses to act, even when afraid. The person who becomes wise isn't the one who crams knowledge in one sitting. It's the one who reads, learns, reflects little by little every single day. Your future self is being built right now, in this moment, by the decision you make next. That should excite you, because it means you're never more than one small, powerful choice away from getting back on track. You don't need a full overhaul. You need one honest decision followed by another and another until they begin to compound into something real. Small doesn't mean insignificant. In fact, the smaller the decision, the easier it is to overlook its impact. But over time, those choices create momentum. They build resilience. They shift your identity. They shape your reality. The people who create extraordinary lives are not the ones who make perfect choices. They're the ones who make intentional ones again and again. Especially when no one is watching,